Hello viewers, thank you for joining us here today. It is now a known fact that digital transformation has moved on from being just a buzzword to actually getting adopted, especially after the pandemic set in. Even the most unversed industries have now adopted technology to ensure business growth. When it comes to the airline industry, we do know that there is a large amount of technology that is being used, but a very few of us know that the industry is now focused on digital transformation initiatives to offer superior customer experience. To tell us more about the technologies that are being used on a daily basis in the airline industry, it's a pleasure to have with us Mr. Vinod Bhat, the Chief Information Officer of Vistara, which is one of the leading airlines in India. Mr. Bhatt is an industry veteran with nearly 3 decades of experience in driving business transformation by leveraging digital technologies. He has held various leadership positions in USA, Canada, UK, Europe, and APAC regions. Welcome to Dataquest, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you, Supriya, for having me here on this chat.
It's our pleasure, sir. So, sir, everyone knows that the airline industry is heavily dependent on technology. You know, that there are radars and things like that. However, what are the kind of technologies that are being used prevalently to offer superior customer experience?
First of all, again, thank you for having me here. I think the customer experience is I would say, the core of airline business, because this is where the rubber meets the road. But before we go there, I think let's talk about that, whether there are right technologies to identify the customers, because the way customers are put into the whole value chain, there are multiple ways, and you don't per se force customers to give the proper IDs. So the first way of technology intervention is that the right identification of customers, and which includes your whole data strategy, your whole AML based deduplication. I think the first thing is that. Second aspect of technology is the channels, which have opened up a lot. Particularly last 2 years have been that people are going more from offline to online, and some are driven by the customer choices, technologies, and some are driven by the regulatory requirements. So you will see that not only web and mobile, people are talking about now the messaging platforms where they want to do the conversational commerce. They want to also make sure that they have the similar experience or better experience on whole booking and whole payment, because payment is one area where customers actually can lose trust in the airline. So I think this is the second aspect, is the whole multi-channel approach, so that there is unified experience with the customers. Third thing is very important for airlines like us, that we talk about personalization. How much personalization technology can bring. When I say personalization, we're talking about the loyalty-based customers, the different tiers we have got. We're talking about how the marketing strategy is actually getting interwoven into the whole personalization. We're talking about when the travel is over, then what is the post-travel experience, and also how are you putting the ancillary or the revenue generating opportunities and not creating an irritant for the customer from the experience point of view. So the timing of that is very important, and how relevant it is for a customer. I think that is the third one, that is the personalization. Fourth, which we have also seen, is the touchless, touchless services, where people want to just scan, they want to use e-boarding information, they want to get the boarding has to be without flawless in terms of not touching anything else. Kiosks have to be smart. Baggage slips have to be e-baggage. So that will continue, and on top of it, there is now biometric based interventions are also coming, and you will see that more and more happening as we embrace this 22 and 23 years. So I think you will see that's the fourth one. The last one, which a lot of customers, a lot of people don't know, that the support processes, the systems behind the scenes, who are actually making sure that the customer experience is really what they want to experience, is that the efficiency you build into the whole process. For example, when the flight lands, takes off, there are a lot of data exchange which happens between the aircraft and the systems. So you get a lot of information about the health of the aircraft, whether the aircraft is fit to go, there is any maintenance needed, because if the maintenance is not done properly, delayed customer experience take a toll. So there are some, I would say, support systems which also need to be taken care, and there is where the technology interventions are also needed. So I'll take a pause here.
Thank you so much, sir. It was nice to listen to the kind of technology that is being used to offer superior customer experience. I mean, you did mention a little bit about AI and ML and things like that. The pandemic has witnessed a rapid adoption of these technologies. So, what a role is data analytics, AI, ML playing in the airline industry?
See, AIML is extremely critical for the aviation business. And if I had to really segment it, put it in the buckets, I will probably again go with the customer first. So knowing customer is one that we really have a 360-degree view of the customer. But more important is that the AI helps you in really that personalization piece. That what are the attributes of a customer, what are the choices of a customer, which offers can be relevant, and the responsiveness and the loyalty part of it, that where you have a platinum customer, gold customer, how are they getting treated well. So that is, I think, the one part where the customer whole engagement with the customer, AI ML plays a huge role. Then the second part is the whole operations, the flight operations, where you are, when you have to plan the whole flight planning itself, that which flights, which route, which crew, whether the crew has the right licensing, which aircraft. So there is a lot of analysis which happens on the operation data, not only the flight side but also from the crew side, and you basically chalk out the rosters which are getting published. But what happens is that AIML plays a lot more important role when the disruptions happen, because the weather is bad, the flights had to be cancelled. So the whole disruption mechanism, AIML plays a huge role, not only streamlining the internal processes of which crew is going to be where, engineering gets the update, but more important, customers also are getting update that if my flight is delayed, if the flight is cancelled, what are the other options. So that's the second aspect of the whole seamless operations is the second part of it. Third thing is the communication part. So as we are trying to streamline, I have definitely adjusted a flight, I have got a good offer, but how do you communicate to the customers? How do you communicate internally to the staff? I think that is the third aspect where AIML again plays a role, and whom to communicate what, because many times that if the flight was delayed and you are telling them that our airlines is the number one in the OTP or online on-time performance, so it doesn't make sense. So I think those sentiments also AIML really takes really helps us out. If I take one more area, which is the engineering side, I think we call it MRO. MRO is maintenance, repair, and operations. So I'm sure you may be aware that the delays which are happening in the flights, 30% of that is because of unplanned maintenance. So you can take out, if you take 30% out, and you can be more proactive and identify those areas, hotspots where you need to address, our engineers have to address, you can actually make 30% more improvements or address those 30% deficiencies. So AIML again plays a big role. Even before, again, you can use the technology like digital twin in looking at what part has issues, what part of the aircraft systems have issues before the flight lands here. You can actually, the engineers can get a much ahead information than when the flight lands on the ground. So you can be a lot more proactive. Fourth area is also revenue management. So huge, what are the opportunities for revenue management, whether which route is more profitable, whether we can start a new route, whether there is, sometimes you may have the data only for your airline, but there is a lot of industry data available which can help to create, better routes. Then also the dynamic pricing. How much is the willingness to pay from a customer side, and how much you are earning that expected marginal seat revenue. So that, I think, that goes part of it, apart from the ancillary revenues, where if the baggage, you are charging for more baggage, or you are giving the option to basically book a hotel also. While we talk about, it's called the new digital lifestyle, right, brand. So people are not talking about airlines are becoming a digital lifestyle brand now, because you don't talk about only airlines. You also talk about the associated services around it, like the rental cars, the hotels. You really sell an experience, not only on the aircraft, but total lifestyle experience. So also one more big aspect in airlines from the ML perspective is the whole fuel cost. So fuel is very, very important. It is almost, I think, 25-30% of the overall cost, operational cost. So any improvements which you can get is AML plays a role there, where how much fuel you need to carry, and that the load factor really decides about that. Then also the sustainability aspect, how much carbon footprint you need to reduce. So there is, you touch it, any area, you will see AML playing a role.
Those were really great insights, sir. And I think your viewers would be really thrilled to know about the kind of technology that goes into, the stuff that they are paying for. That's really great to know. So, sir, there are multiple reports on about how the airlines is now undergoing a digital transformation, especially to cope with the, ill effects that the industry has to deal with due to the pandemic. So, how is Vistara dealing with the issue of digital transformation, and what are what are some of the new offerings that you have come up with, which is aligned with this in this direction?
See, Supriya, we have broadly, if I have to summarize, we have a three-pronged strategy. One is purely around customer. So anything and everything around customer, and that when you talk about customer, also there is long-term and short-term strategy. Long-term is where you really improve the digital spine of the organization. If I will, so where you really set up the robust systems which are rich in data, which are rich in integration, which are rich in user interface, and then you also have short-term fixes, because these projects sometimes go beyond 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, 1.5 years. So nobody has patience until then. So what are the incremental changes you are going to make? So you need to have a short-term also plan. So I'm talking about even here customer itself, and that's true for even other areas when I'm talking about. So our strategies obviously look at the B2C aspects, look at the integration of data is going to be a very, very big key, which is already we have spent a lot of effort and money on streamlining that, and it will continue. It's a journey which will go through. You'll see a lot more tools like chatbots getting a lot more prominence, where you can give lots self-service to the customers. On the other side, which is the employee side, so we're also making sure that the employees are given sufficient training in terms of digital acumen, in terms of the technology trends that are happening, and they can actually be a lot more passionate about the changes which the technology is positively bringing to the customers. So it is basically broadly about the employee experience, about the customer experience. I think they're very important. And second aspect is about the whole backend support application. That's the second part of the strategy, where you want to make sure that there are efficiencies built, there are long-term applications, long-term platforms, whether it is at the corporate side, whether it is on the airport side, engineering side, flight operations side, ground services side, safety side, so you name it. So all applications, all the platforms have to be making sure that they are not truly legacy. They have got right API done so that they can talk, and wherever we need to make some changes, we make the changes. And one of the applications or the offering is the RFID, which you have recently seen also, that where we are embracing those technologies, which help us multiple folds. One is that where the more automation is done, accurate automation is done, inventory can be managed better. You can also manage the expiry of the items within the aircraft, through the QR code and other things. And so those interventions will happen, but that is more where it is not directly impacting the customer, but it is how to streamline the backend processes and systems, and that will continue. Same thing about the whole reconciliation of the revenue management, reconciliation of the marketing strategies, end-to-end view of that, how are the effectiveness of the offers, similarly how are the airports being served, how is the ground services making. So all those efficiencies is the second part of the strategy. I think third, which is very important, is for us is looking at the infrastructure and security, because it is a horizontal for the airline. And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about the airport infrastructure. I'm talking about enterprise corporate infrastructure also. So there is a lot of I would say digital components which are either owned by airlines like us, or they are the SaaS platforms which are actually being provided by the partners. So an airline ecosystems are quite hybrid that way. So how do we make sure that we still leverage those platforms? We still leverage or have the flexibility in bringing the innovation at the right cost and right experience level. So that whole infrastructure, we have created a lot of reusable assets, which are, for example, if a new airport is opened up, how quickly we can onboard the IT infrastructure. If there is main LAN or the link is down, is there a way to still print the boarding passes? So those kind of things, I think, are the things which we are parallelly doing as part of the whole infrastructure reimagination, if I will. Second is the whole security part of it. So how do we get the network security, the security, the web security, and how do we have the unified processes around that? So, and what are the tools which we are using, and how do we make sure that you constantly update those? So there's the third part of the strategy from Vistara point of view.
That's great to know, sir. I mean, you briefly mentioned legacy. You briefly mentioned infrastructural challenges. So, what are some of the common challenges that the airline industry faces while adopting digital transformation, and how is Vistara overcoming these challenges?
See, in general, I will say airline, we generate a lot of data, tons of data, and particularly last 2-3 years, you touch it, you have data. So the first thing is the challenge, I would say, an opportunity where you break these silos, whether it's the customer data silos, it's operational data, marketing data. So how do we make sure that you have got the 360-degree view of the data? And how is this data really getting connected at the enterprise level? I think that opportunity, I will not say these challenges, but I will say opportunities. So opportunity number one is that where you can make use of that data, get the right inferences, and more importantly, how do you use those inferences for making the right business decisions? How do you move from a reactive to a proactive to a predictive model? I think that is the first part of it. Second is, which is again an opportunity where the customer expectations change, because if you have built a web and mobile app, is it enough? Probably answer is yes and no, because yes, it will probably serve the purpose currently, but eventually the customers are moving to different channels. So how do we make sure that we are still keeping up on the customer expectations? And I talked about that we are saying digital lifestyle brand, and customers want to do one-stop shop, not only for airlines, right? They want to really have their experience. So there is where the other technologies also help us. For example, metaverse is talked about a lot in terms of AR, VR. How do you give that experience that people who don't have time to visit, for example, any place, so you can actually make them visually through the digital objects, they can actually travel that. So I think those are the second, making sure that we have the customer expectations we meet. The third thing is, which is important, is from airlines perspective, is the data security and compliance. So airlines is a very regulated industry. And this we have to every time make sure that we're compliant with the DGCA guidelines, we're compliant with the GDPR, we're compliant with security. So that will continue, and we can never take our eyes off, and there is no silver bullet that we're done with this. So you have to keep watching, working, reviewing, updating, patching, whatever you need to do. I think it will continue. Last opportunity, which is not only for airlines but in general, organization change management. How do you it's not only about what is happening in the market, but it's also about how do you take your enterprise along, because when you are talking about the changes which you are planning to do from the technology point of view, but technology comes second. First is the business, right? So what are the business problems you are trying to solve, and what is the appreciation of a particular technology? What's the trust for that particular technology? How do you make sure this technology doesn't bring down the business? The whole change management around that, I think, whether and getting everyone speaking the same language, getting them on the same page. I think that the other opportunity, I would say, from that journey perspective, challenges perspective. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for putting it across in such a simple manner. Sir, you mentioned a lot of technologies already. I mean, RFID, you mentioned all of that. So if I had to ask you for top 5 technology trends that we can expect in the airline industry, in the time to come, what would you have to say to us?
There are many. It's difficult to say 5, but I will try to summarize. I would say smart sensor-based technologies will continue. So which includes your IoT-based, RFID-based. You may be aware that a lot of airports across the world are having lots of IoT sensors now. So the collaboration between airlines and airport is going to be key while serving the same customers, serving the same operators. So that will continue, and on top of it, you put the AML, because IoT is nothing but the data. So you get a lot of data. What are you going to do with the data? Are you going to solve this, SDM kind of problem? Are you going to solve the queuing problem? What kind of things are you going to do? So that's, I think, one thing which we have to watch out for. Then it will continue. Second, I believe that a lot of POCs have been done on 5G. You have got very good relevant case studies for airlines. So 5G plus, I would say, edge computing. So both will go together, where the speed of the 5G is a lot more. I think it can go up to maybe 100 times to 4G and all. So there are several use cases in the airline industry where you actually, when you are talking about the biometric based boarding, so you can actually not only validate the ticket, you can also do the background checks now through the 5G, which is much faster. So the use cases like this, that if I have a valid ticket and if my background check is not good, I will not be allowed to board even while you're trying to enter the aircraft, airport. So that will probably continue, and you will see if that happens, if that is successful, you will see a lot of work being done at the airport. For example, the thermal scanners which are used today to scan the images, you can process the data at the airport because the edge devices will be a lot more smarter. We don't have to send the data to the cloud. I think that is the second technology you will see. Biometric will continue, touchless will continue. There will be a lot more, I would say breakthroughs in that, but it will also bring some challenges in terms of data privacy and compliant with the laws. So that will mature, I would say, but you will see people will love that I don't have to take out my boarding pass. My face is a boarding pass. It is perfect. I have completely seamless and it is safe. Fourth technology, if I have to pick, it will be this whole metaverse. So, and there are good use cases for airlines. For example, you can actually do the whole maintenance, using the digital twin and metaverse. You can go there, you can experience the place. You can do the training, where you can do the digital avatar and do the training while sitting in a room. You can actually do the training. So it may be a good useful, but there's a lot of hype around it. It may we'll have to see that how it really stabilizes, and but it looks promising. Fifth, will AI/ML will continue. AI/ML has tons of things to do, and the more we left shift, what I mean by left shift is the more I left shift the inferences to the business, to the value chain, the better you will see the effectiveness of the AI/ML technologies. So these are the 4-5 technologies which comes to my mind. I didn't talk about blockchain because it's still staying there, but I think this will have a good role to play.
That was really interesting, sir. I mean, I personally am excited about the phase being the boarding pass, right? I hope it really comes very soon. So, sir, is there anything else that you would like to add that I may have missed out?
No, I think broadly we talked about so we have, if I have to summarize, that there is a lot of transformation which is happening in the industry. A lot of stakeholder expectations, whether it's a customer, internal. There are a lot of collaboration happening with the partners. So the ecosystem is there. So a lot of collaboration which are solving the industry problems. For example, if Vistara is one airline and I want to really understand what are the other airline best practices. So the OEMs are giving us today, have started giving us that platform, that this is the benchmark. This is what the industry is doing while respecting the data privacy and all. So I think it is interesting where we can infer a lot more. We can make our services better. And we can actually target the offerings or solutions which can make a difference to the end stakeholders.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out to talk to us. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you, and I'm sure our viewers will appreciate everything that you had to say. They'd be happy to know about the kind of technology that goes, in the back, when they are boarding their flight and getting down it, they'd be happy to know what is happening in the back end. I mean, thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.